What's up, everybody? Hey-o. So my first bachelor party I ever went to a couple years ago, I was super excited about it because we all know bachelor parties are about strippers. Sex. Someone said sex. Whoa. No. Come on. Slow down there. Strippers, strippers. And I was so excited. I want to hang out with strippers, but I was like, okay, I could finally meet a stripper and we could do what strippers do. And I was like excited. I was like, yeah, we're gonna do strippers. And my buddy was like, nah, we're gonna go to the woods. And I was like, sick. Strippers in the woods. Let's fucking go. The best of both worlds. Outdoors, titties. What more does a person want? And he's like, no, we're not getting strippers. We're just gonna go camping. I was like, oh, that's lame. And he's like, no, but we're gonna do mushrooms together. And I was like, amazing. That's even okay. That's all right. That'll be fine. So that weekend, he gets these white cap mushrooms from, I don't know what white caps are, but he got these type of mushrooms. He got a bunch of beer, all these drinks, and like 10 of us, we go up into the woods, upstate, somewhere around here, and we go into the woods. And the first night, we're like, should we take these mushrooms? And we're like, no, it's kind of dark, so let's not do that. Let's do it in the morning. We wake up the next morning. We play a lovely game of Dizzy Bat. If you don't know Dizzy Bat, it's like baseball, but more drinking. It's a stupid game. And we play Dizzy Bat, and we get a little drunk, and we're like, okay, maybe it's time to take these mushrooms. And our buddy who's done a couple mushrooms before, he's like, hey, don't just eat them. Let's just put them in these peanut butter jelly sandwiches. So they grind up these mushrooms, and they just load up these PB&Js, and they cut it into triangles. And they're like, all right, everyone take a triangle, and let's have a good time. Has anyone here ever taken mushrooms before? Big mushroom crowd. Awesome. So we all know the first 30 minutes of mushrooms is fucking awesome. It's amazing. You're sitting in a circle with your buddies and you're just laughing. Everything is funny. And before as we're like getting shroomed up, our buddies like, hey, for the first time, people that have ever taken mushrooms, sometimes your brain will become untethered. And I was like, why didn't you tell me this before? I just ate all these mushrooms. And he's like, no, it's okay. Like, you start thinking about fractals and just other things, and your mind will leave you, but we have a safe word for us. When things start to get weird, we'll just say a word, and we're like, okay, we'll come up with the word, and we'll try to figure it out. And then someone is, out of nowhere, someone's like, how the fuck does anyone sit and watch a whole Joe Rogan podcast? Who has 3 hours of their time? And someone's like, sick, Joe Rogan, that's gonna be our word. Anytime something weird happens and someone is a little weird, we're just gonna say, Joe Rogan. So we're having a good time, we're getting shroomed, and our buddy Abe starts to like throw up. He like violently throws up, and one of the other guys is just like, this guy's throwing up, what a pussy. And everyone's like, yo, Joe Rogan, man, that's our friend, Abe, you can't make fun of him. And Abe is like, nobody look at me, no one look at me. And we're like, Joe Rogan, it's okay, man, it's okay, Joe Rogan. The Bachelor, he was wearing this weird hat, and we were like, Joe Rogan, man, you gotta take that off. Please take that off. You're ruining the whole vibe for everybody. And during the whole time we took the mushrooms, there are two guys that didn't take mushrooms. One just didn't want to, and one who's like, I just want to watch and see. I'm gonna be the mushroom sitter for y'all. And I tell this guy, I'm like, hey T, I need to go use the bathroom. Can you walk with me? I might get lost because I'm on mushrooms. And he says, okay, of course. And as we're walking, and everything starts to become like 4K. It's like, I was like, oh my God, is this what green is? I was like, this is beautiful. And I'm looking around, and I go into the outhouse, and it's dark, and I'm like using the bathroom, and I was like, T, are you still there? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, just checking. I leave the bathroom, and we come back to these guys that I thought were my friends, and they're not the same people that I left and returned to. They're different men, different people. One guy has a rock in his hand, and he's trying to get it to this other hand, but he doesn't want to move this other hand. He's like, ah! One guy has one of those like David Bowie hats and his shirt is off, and he's like, you just gotta enjoy the ride, brother, you just gotta enjoy the ride. Our other buddy is staring at the sky, and he's like, it's so beautiful, it's so beautiful. And I was like, T, we gotta go for a walk. I can't be with these guys, they're bugging me out. And we start to walk, and we're walking, and my brain starts to do the fractal thing, and I'm like, you're nobody, no one loves you, and I'm like, Joe Rogan, bring it back in my brain, and I'm walking, and I was like, hey T, can I listen to music? And he's like, yeah. So I play Bob Marley, No Woman, No Cry, the 1975 live version, and he starts off with, I remember when we used to sing in a government yard in Trenchtown. I was like, oh my God, I've never been in that government yard, but I understand what he's saying. I feel it. I was like, I've never heard music like this before. And it gets to the chorus, and he's like, no woman, no cry. And I look at T, and I was like, I want to cry. But he says, no woman, no cry. And I was like, can I cry? Is it okay for me to cry? Is it right for men to cry when no woman, no cry? And he's like, cry. And I was like, I think I'm gonna throw up. And he's like, what? And he's like, do whatever you want. And I was like, no, I'm okay. And we keep listening to music, and it's beautiful guitar solo, and I'm still playing music, and I start playing some of the Beatles song, and I was like, we should probably go back and see these guys. And as I'm coming in, they see me and they hear the Beatles, and they're like, oh, Drew, you're back. It's been so long. How long have you been? Oh my God, it's so good to see you. And I was like, yo, Titus, how long has it been? Like, how long does the mushrooms last? And I was like, it feels like we've been high for so long. And he's like, dude, it's literally only been 45 minutes. And I was like, so how long are we gonna be like this for? And he's like, probably another 6 hours. And I was like, oh, this is the worst. I was like, I can't do this. And my friends start to get proceedingly like more shroomed. One guy's just rolling on the ground. The groom is like, this is great. I'm gonna jump over the fire. And we're like, no, don't jump over the fire. Because there's no fire there. There's nothing here. And me, T, and the two other guys were like, hey, we're starting to get hungry, so let's make you wanna make some food? I was like, yeah, let's make some burgers. And I'm like, I'll make the burgers. And he's like, damn, you're not really that high. I was like, man, I can handle my drugs. And as I'm making the patties and I put the burgers on the thing, I look at the burger and it's like, you're killing me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm still very much high, and I'm making these burgers, and I'm finishing it, and I start to hand these burgers out like to the guys, and I hand it to the groom, and he just crushes it in his hands and fucking throws it on the ground. And to a normal person, you're like, oh, that's kind of rude. But when you're on mushrooms, you're like, what did you do to this life force, this nutrients? Joe Rogan, what are you doing? And he runs off, and we're like, let him blow off some steam. And he runs away, and we were sitting, and we're kind of just like, looking at each other, and we're like, you have a stupid face. Look at your dumb face. And I was like, okay, this was fun for a couple minutes. Let me go find the groom. To make sure he's okay, and I walk, and I look, and he's not around where I thought he was, and I'm like, oh, maybe go check his tent, and and his tent was like a very nice big tent, and it had like a little hole where you can like see inside, and I look inside, and he's naked, and he's beating off, and he turns around, and he looks in my face, and he keeps beating off, and I'm like, no, Joe Rogan, no! And I go back to the people, my friends. I was like, this man was jerking off, and I don't know what to do. And they're like, no, obviously he wasn't. I was like, no, he obviously was. And then he comes out of his tent, and he's naked, and he's swinging his penis around, and he's like, none of you care about me. None of you care about me. And I'm like, oh my God, what did we take? What have we been consuming? It's PCP, we're doing PCP. And He's like, no one cares about me. You don't care about me. No one cares about me. And he's like, none of you have changed since high school. And we're all just like, what do you mean we've all changed? We've had to change. And he's like, none of you have changed since high school. You suck. You're terrible. You're awful. And on mushrooms, this is probably the worst thing you could say to a person in the woods. I was like, what are you saying? And then he looks at one of our other buddies and he's like, and you tried to hook up with my wife at the engagement party. And we're all just like, what is actually happening? And we're still shroomed out, and we're like, we need to have a powwow and talk about everything you said. And then it starts to like get thunderclouds, and it starts to rain, and everyone's like, we'd have to go into our tents. So we get into like each of our tents, and I was like, I'm not going in the tent with this guy because I saw his penis, and I don't want to do that. So we end up rest of the night is done, and we wake up that next morning, and everyone kind of feels like icky, like we're like, what the fuck just happened last night? Like, that wasn't fun. And I guess it would have felt the same way if we had strippers over. I don't know. And we were like, this is gross. And we leave, and our buddy ends up not. He's like, hey, you're uninvited to my wedding, to the dude who he thought was with his wife, or tried to be with his wife. And then the week of the wedding, we all end up turning up because we've been friends forever, and we're hanging out. And we kind of haven't really talked about it because it's we all saw our friend's penis in the woods, and we're kind of like on the dance floor, just like two-stepping whatever. And my buddy comes up to me and he grabs me and he pulls me in and he's like, hey, we're bound for life. And I think of the Bob Marley song, no woman, no cry, no woman, no cry. And then he's like, in the bridge, everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. And I thought about our friendship, and I was like, sometimes the woman doesn't cry, but you see your friend's penis. And everything's gonna be all right. Because at the end of the day, the woman didn't cry. I'm sorry, Joe Rogan. Have a good night, guys.
Andrew McGill, everybody.